some of my friends who are in really small town Mississippi, and in the public schools, kids just don't show up, They don't show up for their virtual courses. They're not doing their work. And they really, really are losing so much of the momentum that school is such a part of. And that whole communication piece that you were talking about speaks to a couple articles that you've written. I did a little homework. You did about a year and a half ago. You did 20 predictions for education, and then you followed it up just really recently with 8 maybe more nuanced predictions for education. So I was wondering if maybe you could speak to 1 or 2 of your favorites on those lists and help us out with this.
Sure. I was looking back at the 20.
How could you possibly know?
Right. I just, to review in advance, just so I'm on my game. But there were a lot that definitely apply to today.
Absolutely.
I think the ones that stand out still, and I think this was one of the 8, is educator competencies. Again, I think one of the other things that was highlighted this year was that teachers weren't ready for what they had to do.
So true.
And, the whole ethos of close your door and things are going well as long as parents and guardians don't complain is no longer okay. I think schools, one of the things that happened this past year especially was that schools there was a North Star for what they wanted their faculty to know how to do as well. And it wasn't theoretical, it was skills-based.
Yeah.
And I think we need to go back to that. So thinking about school as a learning community for not just students, but for educators, and I'll even extend that to parents and guardians as well. I think that's going to be a new big trend that we're going to see with schools. But being really clear about what does great teaching at our school look like? We kind of touched on this earlier, and identifying those skills and traits and characteristics that a successful teacher at each school demonstrates on a regular basis. And right, what does it mean to work towards mastery as a teacher? And then designing and having available coaching and professional learning opportunities that will support that. The idea that because you've taught for, 25 years means you're a master teacher, well, based on what? Like time, this is like Carnegie units, right? Time in a class doesn't mean you've learned the material. Time in a classroom doesn't mean that you've reached some, Zen state. So I think, and every other profession is very clear about this, right? Doctors, lawyers, everybody, mechanics, right? Like as you need to keep learning, the technology is going to continue to change. You need to keep upskilling. And I think that is something that schools really need to lean into in a big way.
Sure, that makes sense.
And then the other one I would add is wellness. That idea of, I think, and again, as this applies to teachers, we've talked a lot about wellness for students.
Yes.
I think we need to, especially this year, I'm seeing my friends struggle. I'm struggling, right?
Yes.
Like this is hard. And we need to think about how we are supporting the health and well-being of the teachers in our communities and our students. But everybody is having a hard time, and it's not just going to go away. This is something I think that needs to be built into the way that we do school.
Yeah.
So thinking about teacher schedules, how can we make those more flexible? I'm hearing from teachers that they actually do appreciate the ability to not be in at 8 or to have days where they can work from home. Every other industry is shifting to that. Not every other, but many. And I think it's interesting to think about how that might apply to schools moving forward as well.